Thanks, Frank. Matt Wolff, CEO and founder of Ticket Time Machine. We're an entertainment company that specializes in commemorative products, specifically tickets, and happy to be here.
Well, thanks again, Matt. For those that don't know, we've tried to do this about 9 times, and we're finally getting organized. So hopefully all our connections are going to go well today, and we'll move from there. Matt, I've got a quick question for you. What is it about sports that people enjoy? Why do they need your product, and why are sports fans as rabid as they are, you think?
Well, I think that sports, as well as any event, really is all about the memories. And so everyone can talk about an event that they've been to that meant something to them. And we're just keeping the printed memory alive, is really what we're doing. We're selling memories. And you never know what's going to be a memory. It doesn't necessarily have to hit you right then, and that's going to be a memory that you're going to want to have. It could end up later in the season or next year or 2 years from now. So everybody has great stories about all the sporting events that they've been to. And this is just something that when you look at it, it just immediately reminds you of it.
Well, it's funny you say that because there are, games I watch with my dad or events I went to with my buddy that lived down the street when we were kids, or that first college football game I went to in the Horseshoe at Ohio State, or all those things. And you're right, I would like to be able to commemorate that. So how do you get to that point from a game that happened maybe 5, 10, 35, 50 years ago?
Well, it's just about licensing and partnerships. We're working on that. We don't have permission to do anything on our own. And so, we need to work with the teams and the leagues and events and that want to offer this to their fans. There's a lot of reasons why you should offer it to the fan. The first reason of that is that fans want it. And
right.
There's statistics to show that there are people who do collect tickets, and with everything going digital, this is an option. So, and we're not even telling you that you need to give it away like you used to, because there is an expense to that for the teams in some respect.
Sure.
But use it as a revenue. Say, hey, look, if you want it, we're going to give you the opportunity to get it. If you don't, that's fine too.
What is the most interesting request that you received for something?
Oh man, that's so I get a few requests through my website, even though we're not really selling anything quite yet. And I print some tickets for some people, and I can't remember. I have to get back to it, but I saw this request and I was like, is that what you really want me to print on a ticket? Because I'll do it. It's whatever you want. I didn't charge them for it, but I printed. It was something weird. I don't remember if it was like a TV show they did, or maybe it was something that was promoting their TV show, but I remember the words being kind of weird and funny. I don't remember exactly what it was.
When you're looking at something, you're saying, okay, we're going to recreate that event in that ticket, or we're going to recreate the event on a ticket. What is the difference?
Well, that's a good question, because there's a few different ways that we can operate. The first thing is that we can be admission for your event if you need it. We don't do a lot of it. We have a couple of customers that we do. There's a small college in Miami that we print and do admission tickets for. So when you're talking about, what are we going to print? The first thing we're telling people when we're trying to talk to them about partnering or offering, licensing, is that we're not looking to replace your admission. We can do it if you need us to, but that's not really what we're looking to do. We're looking to do a commemorative ticket. So what is that going to look like? Well, there's a couple of different camps of people who collect tickets. There's people who collect a ticket to say, hey, this is the actual thing that got me in there. Or there's people who want something that commemorates it, and they almost don't care what it looks like. If it's something that's really neat, that's even better than what they were given. Or some people, would like something that looks exactly like it, even though it's not the exact one. So depending on the demand for an event or a ticket, that'll determine whether or not we actually replicate the exact ticket, or maybe we have a shell of a ticket for the New York Mets, and then we print whatever event it was, whether that was, a year ago, 10 years ago, or, next month's event. And obviously, the older the ticket, we'd want to make it look closer to it. So we'd like to do something that's, enough where we can recreate that ticket in a sense, or at least make it look as close to that ticket as we can.
Now, do these tickets have to be made in bulk, or can you do something for an individual event, for an individual concern?
So the answer is yes to both of those.
Okay.
Everything with printing is bulk, because the trouble and the cost is actually setting up the press to print it. So we'll have people set up the press, and then once you do that, the difference between printing, 5,000 or 10,000 of these is nothing. But there are a minimum that you need to do, and same with our, with our animated tickets, there are minimums. So, we don't do like one ticket if someone wants one ticket, but what we can do, as I mentioned before, is we can kind of do a shell of that. So this is a ticket time machine sample that I did. So let's just imagine this is any team or event. Let's say that they play throughout the year for a league. And then on the back, I have a printer that's right here, and I just run it through and print whatever information you want on it, so we can customize and personalize it for the event. So if one person wanted one ticket from one game, we can do it as long as we have the program already built.
Okay, so I coming from a former athletic director, I would have liked to have had, say, a form for senior night for our school. And then you may have done a different one for each senior, but we would have done seniors throughout the entire season. So we may have needed 50, 60 tickets and then individualized them, or we could have done them, I guess we could have printed them individually from where we were and just run through a machine. But would that be something you could do?
Yeah, we can do that. Again, it all just depends on, there still will be minimum orders.
Sure.
So at some point, it makes sense to make a bigger program rather than, let's say, spend X amount of dollars per ticket because you're only printing 50 or 60, where you can make a bigger program, offer it for sale, and then customize that as part of the bigger program, or the shell, as I'll call it.
So you would do the shell for the team's season. Say this is, X school's 1985, 1986 season, and then football, basketball, baseball, senior night, graduation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the great thing about that is, so, we would probably do something like that on our thermal talk. With this is a real ticket. This is what people use as tickets. It's called a thermal ticket. And so we can actually put advertising and stuff on the back. And what we can do for a situation like that is I can actually have a different sponsor for football tickets, a different sponsor for basketball tickets, a different sponsor for the graduation. And then as they're ordered, we just print out on whichever back is appropriate. And they could literally sponsor, depending on how we do it. If we do it within a season, you could do it for a specific game. So there's a lot of value to the sponsors and brand partners that you can leverage with our stuff. And that's on top of, the value that you're giving to the fan, generating revenue in a few different ways.
Because I think that's something that, coming from that point of view, it was something that was important to have, because we just had those little generic blue and pink tickets, and I ended up sweeping them up at the end of the day. So that was something, because we all know, again, as you said, it's something that you look at, maybe you don't realize how important it is that day, but 5 years from now, 25 years from now, oh, I wish I had something to commemorate that. So that's a very good idea. And again, you get something for the sponsors as well. So that's pretty cool. When you're looking at doing something for someone that says, I want this, how do they contact you and put it all together?
Yeah, we're very accessible. I mean, you can just shoot me an email. You can call me. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I even have a really dumb but funny video on TikTok that people should check out because it's funny. I think I only have like 4 videos on there, but yeah, we're happy to work with whoever is interested in commemorating an event, and we can create the ticket for you. You can just give us an idea and give us images, and we'll create it for you. There's no charge for that. We love creating the ticket, or we can just have you send us what you want, and we'll be able to get it on our special tickets. And so we want to make, and we're happy to give advice too. We certainly consider ourselves experts in commemorative tickets and understand what the fan wants and what might sell best. So, we're happy to offer our expertise on that and create something that's going to be memorable for your audience. And then also, something that will be profitable for you with regards to creating revenue.
What do you think is the job you've done that's got the best response so far?
Well, it's funny because some of the jobs we do are just people that are ordering for us. So they're not selling. They're saying, hey, we we want to order 3,000 of these. So they might have been able to sell 5,000 of them, but they only ordered 3,000. Some of them had VIP on it. Some of them were for
Right.
media. I love the way that this ticket looks.
That's pretty cool.
For
Yeah.
the Tyson Jones, this thing really pops. I really like, this was basically like the first one that I did. This is
Oh,
pops.
cool.
A lot of it just matters on the artwork. This is a ticket I did for a wedding. If you're getting married or you have an event, a family reunion event, we can do animated with a video or rotate some images. And so, you know, this is for a singer-songwriter, my friend JD Eicher. I think this thing really pops cool. And on the back, we put a QR code with his Patreon information. This
Cool.
area here, he uses to give his signature, and he gives it away at shows. He's got a really good following on Patreon, and people who like just, you know, listening to whatever he does. He does a JD TV on Mondays for his fans. And so, you know, when people can get something like this that's personalized,
Oh yeah.
someone who they really, really like and want to support, it's great. And so we want to help commemorate everything. I think every event should be worth commemorating. Otherwise, why are you even doing the event?
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that every event that happens is going to be that. It's not always going to hit that standard for everyone, but there's always going to be someone who enjoyed it for whatever reason it is. And it doesn't even have to be a good event. I'll give you an example. There was an event. It was a Gator basketball alumni game event many, many years ago. And it was about as bad an event run as you could figure, but a great day because I'm a huge Gator fan. I was
Right.
hanging out with Joakim Noah and Al Horford was there, and Udonis
Cool.
Haslem. Actually, I don't think Horford was there, but Udonis Haslem was there, and Teddy Dupay, and just a long list of people who were there. Now we're actually going to recreate that event. It was supposed to be last year. We pushed it to this year in August. I'm thinking we're gonna have to push it again, just because I just don't think the optics of it and for the players is really, we'll know that it's safe in time for August. But that's just an example of, it was a terribly run event, but an awesome day and something I have commemorated. I have a signed ball. I still have my tickets that I had autographed from all the players. And so you never know what's going to be a good memory for someone. Who it could be the last game that you went to a family member, a friend that
Right.
not with you anymore. I mean, there's so many different reasons why it could be meaningful for you. And it doesn't even matter if it's meaningful necessarily for the masses, but if you're talking about over the course of a season for a team with the number of games they're playing and the amount of fans they're going to have at these events, it's going to make sense to do something for the fans, and you'll benefit too. I think we need to think about, how do we get the fans to really stay with us and engage with us, and this is one of them. So even if you're not making money and you're on this and you're just giving it to the fans and you're giving value to them and saying, look, we really appreciate you. I think it's great. I get certain things from teams, and I really appreciate it. And it really makes me want to support them and maybe go to another game, or maybe I'll go online and buy something else from them. And it's just a matter of doing it right also, because there's a lot of stuff out there that people are doing and they're just not doing it well. And I talk about this all the time, but like there's a couple of Major League Baseball teams that did commemorative tickets, and I don't want to show the front because I don't need to call them out or anything. But this is the ticket that they did. The front is beautiful, but the back of it is blank. And so I don't have any tickets that look like this. And it's kind of like the bare minimum. Like you did it. It's great that you allowed it, but you got to make it authentic. You got to make it something that is the fans are going to want to share and show people. And unless you're hanging this on the wall in a frame, there's, you need to have something on the back of this. And the front needs to be able to be customized. If I was at that game and I say, hey, I'd love to have my section row and seat instead of, this gimmick that they're putting the date for this section row and seat, which is a lot of
Which
people
means nothing, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
So it's great that they're doing it, but we need to get it to the point where it's what the fan will want.
well, there are two things that first I have to ask you: was Dimitri Hill at this event? Did you have the meat hook on the basketball, or?
Man, it literally was 12 years ago. The meat hook is slated to join our event. I
Cool.
think he was, but I don't recall. And there was a lot of good players from the Gators. Dupay was
Andrew
there.
DeClerc, you get those guys. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The clerk said he's in as long as it aligns with his schedule. I mean, the people that we had that were going to be there last year, it's if you're a Gator fan, you're not going to want to miss it. And, we'll hopefully have some information about it. But yeah, I was there when the meat hook was there back in that was the early team when they actually
that was a nice team. Yeah.
First Final Four. That was a
that was a nice team. Yeah.
Dan Cross is a friend of mine. I love supporting Dan and everything that he's doing. He'd probably be a great guest for you on here.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, he joined the Wolff Den one time. He's working on a lot of good stuff, and his son is actually a football player on the. He's on the bench on the football team, so hopefully he'll get some action in the future.
Okay, but you mentioned something that's very important. Let's not go down my own nostalgia. Let's talk about what you're supposed to talk about. But you mentioned something that's very important. It's and hold up the ticket with the singer again.
Yeah, JD.
Now, here's something I think is pretty cool, because that is something you are going to take, and you're not going to not only is it not going to forget about it, it's not going in a drawer or a box someplace.
You're going to show this to everyone.
Exactly.
The thing is cool. And if you're at an event like the Four Chord Music Festival, you're hanging this on your lanyard. And so now you're walking around where people are saying, "Hey man, that's awesome. Where did you get that?
Where the heck did that come from?" Right. Yeah. And that's something I think is, if you're going to do it for an individual basis, I know a few people that are in the music business, and I think that would be cool. Even like a DJ or somebody that does like weddings or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
have them sitting out on the table. Yeah. I think that would be fantastic. But again, we were talking about buying in bulk. How many did JD have to purchase?
Yeah, the minimum order is generally 200 tickets.
Okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, you can do that in a couple of events. Yeah, that's not bad.
So, also we're working on augmented reality experiences that will come on the ticket. And so this just gives added value for the ticket, but also added value to your partners and sponsors and even your team. You can put an experience out there with the QR code. You could push digital content, your schedule, highlights from a game, an offer from your fans. We did this for the I Voted Festival, which was the night of the election. And now we have a new product where it's actually a sticker that comes off. So if you're a brand, or if you want to create an art for the sticker for people to wear, or a brand, and you want to offer some type of, giveaway, or bring this to the local restaurant and get a free soda, whatever it is you want to do. The limit is the imagination of the brand partner, the sponsor, the team. There's not a whole lot of limits to what we can do when we talk about augmented realities and pushing the digital content where you could push that to. So you're not getting rid of the digital aspect of it. You're just keeping the physical aspect. And what you said is a really good point. We throw things on the floor all the time that we get at these.
Oh yeah.
Nobody is, first of all, you're going to buy this. You're not necessarily giving this away unless it's VIP, but nobody's throwing this away.
No.
Right. And so, I think that's a good point, and you're going to show it to people. So I talk every chance I get, I talk about immeasurable data, like who's going to see this and who you're going to tell and who they're going to tell. And I have no idea. I can't track it, and it's okay. I think sometimes we got to go beyond the numbers. We can't track anything and just say, look, it's going to reach a lot of people. It's the same thing on social media. I click like, and then it goes to 5,000 people, and then they click like, and it goes to their 5,000 people. So that's stuff that you can't necessarily measure, but it's very easy to spread very quickly to a lot of people and get you visibility.
I think one of the things that we have a problem with in this new generation of marketing is that we forget that we've had advertising for thousands of years. And yes, you can gauge what you're getting from it, but being able to effectively get an analytic of everything you're doing, it's a matter of faith. If if you're talking about the Dutchies India company, okay, you didn't know how many people were buying stock in that back in whatever, but guess what? Somebody was buying stock. It was advertised. And you couldn't say how many people are going to see this ad. And you just have to know if you put a good ad out there, it's going to work. And what you're doing, I think people will go, yeah, like I was at a Golden Knights event and I got a hockey puck.
Oh,
You can't you can't track the hockey puck, but I ain't throwing it away.
yeah.
You can't track the analytics from what you gave me from that hockey puck, but you can guarantee.
Was that a giveaway or that was an actual game used puck?
It was a giveaway.
Okay.
It's got Golden Knights on it and all that stuff. It was they were trying to get me to buy season tickets, and so I came in, and part of it was, since you came in here for free, we're going to give you a hockey puck. Okay, cool. But I'm going to make sure that everyone I say, look at the hockey puck I got. I think it's that's one of the things, and you've got something there. People are going to show other people, and I don't know if you can track how many people see that, but you're going to say, I've seen that. I know that guy. I know that event. I know that. And it's got Ticket Time Machine on the back. I better give him a call.
Yeah. And so, look, numbers are important, right? It's a numbers game, a lot of things. If I have 1 million people on a list that I could send this out to sell, I'm going to be more successful than if I have, 1,000 people that I'm emailing out and doing it otherwise. But as I talk about this in networking all the time, you might be talking to the right people, but not the right person. So in that 1 million people, they might be in your target, but they might not really care about what you're doing, or and so you want to be sending stuff and your message to the right people. And it's kind of a combination of the both. But if I can't tell you, hey, this X amount of people are watching my show to see what you're doing while it's live or at any point. Okay, I mean, you might have a lot more people, but that doesn't mean that they're good followers or good listeners or good viewers. And maybe they are. Certainly you want to increase, but I want to increase mine organically to the people who are truly interested in what I'm doing, not just interested in being a follower of mine because maybe I'm a blue check mark or I'm an influencer or whatever it is. So everything I do is organic. I think that, I believe in what you say, that people are going to see it and they're going to be interested in it. And we're going to have a couple high profile events and teams that are doing it. And we've already done a few, but we'll get more, and it's a copycat world, right? Once someone sees this works, they're going to want to do it for themselves and make it their own. And we're happy to do it.
I love it when I post a show and 35 seconds after it's posted, I loved your show. Yeah. It was a 2-hour show. What did you love about it? You haven't had a chance to see anything. Did you like the opening? Did you like the guest? Or are you just liking it so I like yours? Yeah. I don't need that. I don't want that. That to me isn't, I'm glad that people are hitting the little buttons and all that stuff, but you didn't really give me any feedback. You didn't say what you liked about it. You said, he'll like mine, so I'll like his. And that, it doesn't work. But for what you're doing, it is something that I think people go, that's cool. And it's something they're going to display. It's not going to go in a drawer someplace. It's something they're going to look at and they're going to share with people. And I think that.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, I got an email to that effect saying, look, there's not an opportunity right now, but we think your stuff is really great and better than the stuff that we see out there.
Right.
And so hopefully this is a no for now and not a no, that's great to hear. And then when I hear people saying, hey, I saw your show, I'm like, oh, which one? They're like, they can't necessarily say what it was or what it was, but they see that I'm out there and they see that I'm doing stuff. And if they can watch 10 minutes of it, great. I hope that these are meaningful shows for people and they can get something out of it. Like I've had, TJ Nelligan, who did a book, Live Like Sean, which talked about his son who was special needs and is no longer with us. And we had David from the National Pancreas Foundation talking about pancreas. So today we have Dr. Jen Welter on. It's National Women's History Month. People who are going to inspire and motivate, and you hear their story, and it's just great. It's just a great story that needs to be told. And some of the people I have on, they get to tell their story all the time. So I'm grateful that they give me the opportunity to share their story. But then there's other people that really don't get the platform that they deserve.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. I aim to be that. I just talked about that yesterday on a podcast or show. I don't know what you want to call it, but Samantha Roberts. I love talking about the people who who I just, giving them visibility and talking about
Right.
what they're doing, because I think they're doing great things. So when I say Samantha Roberts in her webinar, and TJ Nelligan and the National Pancreas Foundation, all the stuff they're doing, and I keep promoting JD Eicher because this
Right.
guy, he is a great person, but his music and his song and just the passion he has for what he does and his fans is unlike anything I've seen. And certainly he's not selling out millions of tickets on a tour every year, but he's doing what he loves and he's making people happy. And I think there's something about having that personal connection with someone. And it doesn't matter if he becomes the next, Ed Sheeran. He's still going to be that person
Right.
who does those things for their fans. And that's what I love. I'm a fan first. That's why I started this company. I'm a fan. Everything I do is going to be for the fans or try to do for the fans. And so, that's what I like about, these tickets, is giving just an opportunity to have a fan have something that connects them more with the team or everyone wants. I love to be connected with the Gators in any way I can. I can show you a million things I have. Be like, why in the world would you buy that? I don't know. I don't know. You just want to support the teams that you love and the people you like, and the people who are doing good things for whatever reason it is. I bought a couple Barstool shirts for the Barstool Fund, and I'll be posting those. I mean, just, align yourself with good people, good organizations, good causes, do good yourself, ask for help when you need it. And that, that's what we're really all about, myself and Ticket Time Machine.
Well, I think what you do, and correct me if I'm wrong, what you do is you commemorate the experience, the feeling, and you bring that together. And when you mention a few people and a few jobs of what they do, you hit right on the head. One of the interviews that I haven't got yet because we just haven't been able to put together, we've been working on it for 3 years now. The head groundskeeper for Arrowhead Stadium for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
And we started to try and set it up, like I said, 3 years ago. And he said, I can't do it now. We're going deep into the playoffs. So, okay, fine. Next year, we're going to the Super Bowl. Can't do it now. Like, okay, great. It just is. And he also did Kauffman Stadium for the Royals as well. So after football, he went straight into baseball. Okay, cool. So he just couldn't put it together. So I got back to him this year. I said, all right, what do you think? Because do you have less to do now because you have fewer people in the stands? Blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, I'm not there anymore. You're not there anymore. Yeah. So I said, so where are you? It's like, I'm with the University of Arizona.
Oh, they're down.
And I said, yeah. I said, so, well, what can you do? No, we've got more facilities to do, because I don't want just to have one stadium. I have all of the campus and all. Okay. So he really wants to do a show, but this guy has so much going on, but he's got a great personality. And you're like, go ahead.
He'd be a good guest, but I would say, look, you tell me when you can do it and we'll make it happen.
I tried that. And he's a around the clock kind of guy. Yeah.
Yeah, but he can find a half hour.
We'll work it out.
I think you'll get him, but that's great. University of Arizona. My sister went there. That was my team before I became a Gator. And he'd be a great guest even to talk about his days at Arrowhead and Kauffman Stadium. So, we have some people on our show that are going to be great to talk about their journey and their past. And, it doesn't have to even talk about what they're doing now. But certainly we want them to talk about what they're doing now if they're promoting something, because that's why we have people on the show. But, to talk about other stuff in the past I think it's great. There's so many people I've talked to that have such great experiences. And we did an open to work event yesterday for highlighting people who were looking for work, and the jobs and the companies that these people have worked for.
Right.
It's crazy how talented these people are. And unfortunately, with the environment, it's just been harder for them to get a job. But whoever gets them is going to be very lucky. I told a couple of them, I'd hire you right today. But
yeah, right.
I can't hire anyone. But I would love to, get them on staff someday.
And you hit it perfectly. There are so many people that do good things doing what they do. And again, going back to the experience, you may not know they affect the experience that you have. You may not know what they have to do with, again, the groundskeeper at the football stadium. What does that have to do with me watching a game and enjoying it? Well, guess what? I notice him when he's not doing a good job.
Yeah.
I notice the way the stadium looks when, five guys twisted ankle because the turf is messed up. I get that then, but they do their job somewhat in anonymity, but they deserve as much respect and as much love as anybody else.
What's
And
what's one of the best parts of Rudy is his interaction with
exactly
the Browns guy. I mean,
right,
that's one of my
exactly
favorite parts. His
right.
speech in that is one of my all-time favorite speeches in all of movies, sports movies for sure.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day. Movies that you tear up from without even knowing that you're doing
But that
it, and
gets
that's
me.
one. Yeah,
Yeah. Field of Dreams gets me. Hoosiers
Field of
gets
Dreams.
me.
Yep,
The scene in Rocky when he's talking to his son about,
yep.
nobody cares, you got to get up. I mean, that's a classic scene just for a movie scene. Forget about, boxing, but
Right.
there's a lot of life lessons in these movies. And I mean, a guy like that's got to have a million stories
Yep.
to talk about who he's seen and people that you don't even know who they are. But the stories, the season ticket holder who's there, who's been to 50 straight years of games. I have a friend, his name is Joe Bailey. He's been to every Dolphin game in, I think, he's going on like 47 years.
Wow.
Every single one. He's been in Sports Illustrated. I'm probably going to have him on my show at some point, even though I'm not a huge Dolphins fan. I live in South Florida, but don't tell anyone. But yeah, those stories are great. I hope you get him on the program because I think it would
Well,
be a great conversation.
and again, you're talking about Dr. Jen Welter. You're talking about people that are, doing wonderful things that other people haven't had the opportunity to do before,
Yeah.
or the pioneers of things. And that to me, we had, as we were talking about the sports artist, we were, some of the guys that we've put you together with, or you've put yourself together with actually, we're commemorating some of the Negro League things that had happened. And, just, you don't think about, because we're so far removed from it, we don't think about how important those years were in how we view sports today.
Well, we had Sean Gibson on the show. I don't know if is that what you were referencing, but we had Sean on our show, and he was on ABC News that night. Like, and he gave me an hour. We had an hour talking. It's very easy to do an hour, as you know. He gave me an hour of his time, and we've had really good conversations previously. And it's just fascinating to hear his story. And I want to support whatever he's doing for his foundation, but also for his his great grandfather. And because I think that's important. I think, as you said, we need to educate people more. He was like saying, Josh Gibson. I'm like, well, you might need to tell people who Josh Gibson is for those people who don't know, because there's a lot of people who don't know who he is.
Which is a shame.
You and I know who he is.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who don't. And so, that's part of the reason is let's get people to a new audience. I don't care how popular, there's always a new audience that you can get in front of. So I think it's great that he came on our show, and I hope that he had some new fans and some new people to be inspired by what they're doing.
Well, we had Edward Armstrong Scott, who was the grandson of Henry Armstrong, one of the great boxers of all time, who set records that some people are saying they've set that he actually set before them and whatever. Anyway, and we had an hour. Actually, we told him half an hour. We had an hour. And that was during our Real Boxing show where we have three panelists, or myself and two other panelists. And at one point I said, in my head, I'm going, you guys I just turned him off the screen to myself. So let him go. Because he had something he was passionate about. And he did basically 45 minutes by himself.
That's great.
And it was just like, great show, guys. Take the day off. It was like, okay. And everything, we didn't need to ask questions. We didn't need to steer him any place. He knew exactly what he wanted to say and what got him riled up and what got him passionate about his grandfather. And I was like, go. And at the end,
perfect.
All right, thanks. Click. Yeah. Oh, I love to do those shows.
We went extra innings with Todd Radom, who is very well known in Major League Baseball for doing logos, and he did some Super Bowl logos. So we just kept going, and we had some great conversations about sports and Hall of Fame, and we had some disagreements, which I like even more. If we can't be like, hey, you tell your point of view, I'll tell my point of view. I don't know who's right, but it gives people something to think about. We're going to have a guest on to talk about collectibles like trading cards and these NFTs and there's definitely some both sides to talk about, and that give you some information. So I just like talking about anything to do with sports and
Yep.
entertainment and music and movies and mental health and equality and social responsibility, women's history, all of that stuff is important to me, and I think it's important for people to learn more about, and for me to learn more about too. But these
Right.
shows, as you probably think for yourself, are very educational for me to understand things that I never even knew existed or didn't know, that was the case. And so, I think it's just a good history for me, good
Well,
educational for me.
it's funny you mentioned that because I was a guest on a show, and I'm not going to run this young man down. He's doing a great job, but he forwarded me a list of questions ahead of time, which is
Yeah,
fine. Want to be prepared? That's great. And I said, okay, fine. And I had him on my show, and he asked me, "Did I have a list of questions?" I said, "No, I don't do
no, I don't have a list.
that. I don't do that. I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time."
Yeah.
And and and
And you do a
so
great job. I mean,
yeah,
you've asked the perfect questions. If I was going to give you a list of questions to softball them to me, I mean, you've hit on them. So you don't need to do.
but you've given me the questions by your responses to what you said
Yeah.
before. That to me is the important thing. If you listen to what someone's saying, because that's why we're having a conversation, you're going to lead me to the next question.
And I got caught
And
up on a couple of times with that because you did it, and I always do this. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing while you're listening, you find like two or three things to ask them about what they said. But
right,
by the time they're done talking about it, I had this episode where I had these two questions I wanted to ask, and I couldn't remember what they were. And we had about like 3 minutes of just awkwardness because I couldn't remember what it was. I lost my train of thought, and then we went.
and you
So it's
spool it
great.
around in your head. There's something I wanted to say here, but I don't know. Oh, let's talk about something else. Yeah,
Yeah, and I had people who asked me, "Hey, what's the format, and can we set up a call to talk about this?" And I'm like, "Well, look, we can set up a call if you want, but if you join 5 minutes before, tell me what is off limits, tell me what you
right.
want to push, so we can put it on the bottom, and we'll go from there."
Well, and this is where I have a problem. I personally I have a problem. It's not a problem in general when I'm dealing with someone's people because they're just going to give me what they want to talk about, which is cool.
Yeah,
But I don't really expect to get anything insightful other than just pushing what they want to push, which again, sometimes that's a fantastic thing. I had the chance to interview Pat Williams from general manager of the Orlando Magic, at least former general manager,
he was
and
with the
former
Sixers too, wasn't
he was with the Sixers, right? Exactly. And that's where I wanted to go because I said, well, how did you think of getting Andrew Toney? Where did he come from, and how did you?
Well, I will. I think you froze here, but I will always ask people if there's something off limits. And I have guests that are coming on that I know they're going to tell me there's certain things that are off limits.
Right?
And I'll respect that. But at the end
Yep.
of the day, if it's something that's already out there and be like, look, I'll have you on. I don't care, but we need to talk about this because it's something that just needs to be talked about. It's like the elephant in the room. And I haven't had anyone that's that high profile and controversial yet, but it'll happen. But I always ask, hey, what's off limits?
Right.
And I haven't had anyone say anything really. Oh, I did have
Well,
one person say something, but it made sense because they,
yeah.
for their company that they're with,
Right.
they couldn't give an answer, so there was no reason to ask it.
Right. And I'm not here to break new ground on something that
Right.
is not. I'm not an investigative journalist to say, but you said I don't care about that. I'm interested in what is interesting to them, and if they have something they want to get out to people, that's great. But when they ask for a set number of questions, I'm like, I don't know what I want to ask you yet.
Yeah.
I know a basic idea of what I want to ask you, and there's things that I'd like to know, but you may not want to talk about that, or you may find something else more interesting to talk about. And if I get this one, Frank, I never thought about that before. I can stop right there. It's like good. That's where I'm trying to get to. Or I never told anyone this before. Or that's a very good question. That's what I want to get. I want them to think about what they're talking about, not what I want to talk about.
Yeah, and I've had a lot of, back in the day, just people say, like, you're good at directing the conversation in the way I want to. So it was almost like for example, when I was dating, they'd be like, "Oh, we're always talking about me," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I'm doing a good job of directing the conversation to find out you know, what it is. And I can share how I feel about whatever you're saying. But if you ask the right questions, conversation turns into, you know, something that's, it can really go, you know, in a different direction, which is sometimes fine, or it can really just take off itself.
Well, and that's a very good point because you looked at it. If you're in demand, say the dating thing, and I wasn't in demand, so the fact that I asked you out, that told you all you need to know about me. You know, I then I want to go out with you. That's all you needed to know. You know, but my questions to you or how I'm listening to you, it's like you had a chance to go out with 6 or 7 or 25 other people. Why the hell are you here with me?
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing of if you get that you get that guest, that somebody that has a chance to be with other people. I don't still want to go through the same thing everyone else does.
Right.
Because
I enjoy this conversation because I like talking about things that I haven't, that I don't just go on
right.
and say the same thing. Or, you know, that's why I would come on and talk about anything really, even if it's not related to Ticket Time Machine. But I always love talking about, you know, sports and entertainment. And that's really what Ticket Time Machine is about. It's about, you know, the memories and events that I've been to. You know, it's funny the things that come out. I'll tell you, like if you ask me, let's just say, what's my favorite memory of being at a game with my dad? And so my dad and I, we watched a lot of games. We used to go to like Knicks games and Nets games and Mets and Yankees. We went to some Phillies and Eagles. But I grew up a Broncos fan. And I told my dad I want to go to the Broncos Eagles game. And we went. It was just me and him. Philly was about an hour away or so. We didn't have tickets. I'm in my Elway jersey, and we were driving, and we get to the off ramp by the stadium, and the scalpers are there, and the guy comes. You know, we open the window, and this guy's got his gold teeth, and he's wearing sweatpants, and hey man, what do you need? What do you need? And we're like, well, we're just kind of trying to get in, and I remember this distinctly. He takes his hand and he reaches in his sweatpants in the you know, his nether regions, pulls out these tickets, and I was
Oh,
just
those are special.
yeah, and we bought them, you know, because they were a decent enough deal, and we got in, and so that's the memory I remember. I don't remember a lot about the game, but the Broncos got their ass kicked, and I remember walking back to our car, and I'm wearing my LA jersey, and I'm young. I mean, I got to be 13, 14, maybe. I don't even know. And I'm getting yelled at by this San Diego Chargers fan who has no idea why this person was even there and just heckling me. So that's my most memorable game with my dad. And there's no real reason. I mean, that's a story that doesn't have much to do with the game. It was just, you know, we laugh about that. And so those are the memories that really are, you know, special to me. And I've been to a lot of games. We had, you know, we won a lottery for Knicks playoffs games, and we had Nets playoffs games, and been to opening day in baseball where we had to, you know, where we stayed late, even though it was like the next day was like the first day of school. So, you know, that's what we're all about. Just, you know, bring memories back and keeping them alive. And, you know, every time you look at something like this, that's from an event that you did or someone that
Yep.
you support, you know, smile or cry.
Yeah.
Any emotion is
Yeah.
valid. You know, whatever makes me cry about remembering my dad or certain things is it's a moment that I cherish. And so, you know, that's what's important to me.
Well, I have two of those that are they're
I think you paused for a second. You
I
back?
don't. Yeah, we never took our dad to a football game. Yeah, but I don't know why. It just never occurred to us. We never took our dad to a football game. So this is, you know, 30 years after we're out of school, or 20 years after we're out of school, and we've got the internet problem again.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, um, so my sister gets tickets, and my dad was at the point where he wasn't walking very well and all that. So I drive them to the stadium. They walk up to the game, and then I find a way to get around to pick them up, which is very difficult after the game to get them and get them home. I wasn't even at the game, but the fact that we were able to get my dad to an Ohio State football game was really cool. And that was just, and my sister has all the memories of the game, but it was just getting there because, you know, he helped put us all three through school, and we never went, you know what would be a good idea? Let's take dad to a game. It didn't occur to us until 20 some years after the fact.
I mean, let's
But
go back to the movies, right? The Rudy story where his dad comes to the game, or
right. Yeah.
there's a few of them where they leave a seat for the
Right.
father who doesn't show up, but then he does show up, or, you know, great story.
Talladega Nights. Yeah. But the other one that was even, this tells you the story between my dad and myself. This is the exact way that we are. And good or bad, right or wrong, this is how we work. It was cool. So we used to go to Cleveland to the old municipal stadium to watch the Indians play, the Browns play. And we would go maybe 3-4 times a year, if not more than that. And it was, kid, let's go to the game. Okay, great, Dad. You know, my brother and sister were out of the house by then. So it was usually just me and my dad, my mom, or whatever. So again, Father's Day, about 20 years after I left the house, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take my dad to a baseball game for Father's Day.
Nice.
Thinking I'm really cool, right? And so I tell my mom that's what I'm going to do. And I figure I'll just call up Ticketmaster and get seats. Not realizing this is when they just turned over to what was in Jacobs Field, the new stadium back in the 90s. And gee, no one else thought about taking their dad up for Father's Day. So I had to search and scramble and find the seats. And I finally found the seats. And my brother and sister couldn't make it. So my buddy had just rented a car. I had a Lincoln Town car or something like that. So we go up, get my parents. My dad said, well, I'm driving. Like, Dad, you can't drive. This is Father's Day. My dad didn't let anybody else drive. So we left the town car in the driveway. He gets his car and he drives up. And, the old stadium was you had to park, 3 miles away in somebody's front yard and then walk all the way there. He said, well, where do we park? Like, Dad, there's a parking garage right around the corner. It's like, there's not a parking garage there's a parking garage right around the corner. There's not, Dad, I've done my research. There's a parking garage there. I said, well, okay. So you guys get out here. The gate's right there. We're going to go park the car and we'll meet you back here in 5 minutes. It's like, what are you going to do with my car? I'm going to put it in the parking garage. There's not a parking garage. Dad, there's a parking garage. Trust me, there's a parking garage. So we pull around the corner, pull in the parking garage, come back 5 minutes later, we meet him at the gate. The kid actually knew what he was talking about. Oh my goodness. So we get up to the seats and it's up the concourse and this and that, but we've got great seats. They're up high, but we've got great seats. And He looked at me like, he's not as much of a moron as I thought he was. And no, I know he didn't ever think that, but it's just, there's that dynamic. I'm the youngest kid. I'm the screw up. It was kind of fun. And I was able to give him something on Father's Day that wasn't just a tie, wasn't just a bottle of Old Spice. It was a memory. And I think that would be something worth commemorating. And that was
great
perfect.
ballpark too.
It was fantastic. Especially when you're used to the old one, which was 100 years old and was a piece of crap.
My good friend of mine, took his father to Cleveland. He lives in Gainesville.
Okay.
And he took his father to Cleveland to see an Indians game, and they went to the Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame too. I have to ask him if he actually has that ticket still, but I know that was a special moment and thing he got to do with his dad, who's no longer with us as well. So yeah, these are moments somehow. I mean, maybe you bought a hat, maybe you bought a shirt from it. You could have the program. There's a lot of things that you can have that that can bring back, that can commemorate it. One of the things we love about what we're doing is it's small, right? This is like a mini poster. Like I could have 100 of these. It's not going to break my bank.
Right.
It can be in a collection in a book where you can take it out or and it's just like, how many shirts can I have? I have a ton of Gator shirts. I can't buy a shirt every time I go to the game.
Right.
And so, I think it's just something it's an easy, the ticket was always, I think that's why people collected it. It was just an easy thing. You had this ticket, let's just keep it because it's a great memory. And people do it for movies too. And movie tickets are about as boring as you can find. And we're hoping to change that, have that in our, we're having discussions now to try and change that, but people collect their movie tickets, like the first date or, anniversary, who knows?
Right.
A ton of these great movies.
And it kicks off something and you've hit on something that's perfect here. Something as simple as this little thing. And then you think about, and then there's this thing. And in the middle of what we were just talking about, I thought of about 4 or 5 other memories of games and things that I've been to where the ticket would be the thing. The ticket would kick off that thought, that emotion,
Yeah,
that
when you
smell,
first
the
get it.
smell of the popcorn.
Yeah,
I went to a game with my big brother and big sister. Now I call them that, even though I'm 6'3" and they're 5'9" and 5'5", and I'm still the little kid. And we went, and I'm walking in between my brother and sister like I was when I was a little kid. I've got my glove on my hand. I'm going to the ball game with my brother and sister. I got my glove on my hand, and I'm just giddy as hell. And they're like, "What is wrong with you?" I'm like, we never did this. This is so cool. And that ticket, if I were to see that ticket just sitting around or on the man cave wall or something, it would kick in that memory. And it
yeah,
would be so cool to have that happen, and to
yeah.
have that where you just have triggers all over the place. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
I appreciate it. And I take for granted, I mean, not as much for granted, but I take for granted, the fact that I can go, if I told you the games I've been to and the concerts and the festivals and, it's incredible. I lost enough events since this pandemic that would
Right,
be more in a year that people wouldn't get to in a lifetime.
right.
And there's still so much more I want to go to on my bucket list, but it's so I don't want to take for granted this stuff and be like every time could be something that's really special. It doesn't have to be the biggest game. It could be that game that I went to with my dad, or this day for whatever reason it became memorable. um, and so I think it's important for people who don't get to as many events as maybe you and I do, that it just makes it that much more special, that event for them.
And there are a few events that I've been to that I would like to have something to commemorate it for, because I don't remember much of the event when I was there.
Yeah.
A couple of concerts here I'm a little fuzzy on, but it's the
We'll
idea.
be able to do that for you. I don't,
Yeah,
we're going to get some new generic stock. We're looking for a sponsor, and working on a sponsor for the back of it. But then we'll have something like this that could be like a placeholder, even if it's just something generic, but we customize it and personalize it for whatever you want on it. And then obviously if there's enough demand for whatever event that was, whether it could be Jeter's 3,000th hit, or, uh, home run, 70th home run, or anything like that, triple double. Who knows? We can customize it and personalize it. So it's coming. I say tickets are coming. That's what it says right here. They're coming. Mobile tickets are lame. These are our hashtags. That's the ticket we actually have trademarked. So these are things that it's going to happen. Hopefully sooner than later, but stay tuned. We're going to be able to do that for you guys.
well, Matt, you see, you are the perfect guest, because at this point I usually say, and give us the information on how to just read. People, it's right on the wall behind
Yeah,
you.
right. Take your time. You can
Simple.
find us everywhere. If you know someone you think would be a great guest to come on the Wolff Den and talk about what they're doing, we do learning LinkedIn sessions for people who want to get better at networking and who are looking for work. I'm a Same Here CEO, which is Same Here is a global mental health movement. You can get my email, my phone number, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of that. I'm very easy to find, and I answer every message that I get. So if I can help you, reach out. If you think there's someone who I should be talking to, let me know. And I really appreciate your time today. It was a great conversation. I look forward to having you on the Wolff Den to talk about sports and a lot of different things, because I'm always passionate about doing that.